Hey, it is now time for Comics Talk after 10 p.m. That's right. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson, and I am the host of The Last Comic Shop, who is sponsoring this event. Yes, as Rome burns around us, we will continue to talk comics, because that's what we like to do. Yes, could be the end of all of these things. Chad, what do you think? Do you think it's the end of this Twitterverse?
I feel like everyone's overreacting. Like, how bad could it be?
Yeah, they just locked all the doors and
Are you sure? Not. I've been busy playing Rocket League and not paying attention to the internets at large. Why is Twitter over? I missed it.
So evidently they called Elon Musk's bluff, and only I think less than half of the 4,000 employees agreed to the terms or whatever. So there's a mass resignation. And so, yeah.
So what you're saying is this is the time to buy Twitter stock.
I guess.
Because Elon Musk is a crazy person. There's no way this can fail.
I don't know. I decided to pour myself some scotch, and I'm enjoying watching all this unravel. As I said, it might be the last time we can do a Comics Talk after 10, so I thought I'd assemble the A-team. I got B.A. Baracus and Face and Murdoch, and hopefully they all join tonight.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, pal, but I'm here with you.
I know. Well, Mikey Wood will be joining, hopefully. He said that he was going to be joining, as well as J.A. Scott, and that's my A-team. I don't know who else is on my A-team.
There you go. And hey, I have the data to back that up.
Yeah, you have that data.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, that's not next week's show. We're recording it this week, but it's not for weeks and weeks and weeks. How hard was it to put all that data together? I mean, I kind of sort of helped a little bit, but
yeah, you did a lot of the heavy lifting in the initial parts. But I promise you, dude, I have put hours into that document for reasons I don't understand.
Well, you made all these wonderful graphics and everything. It was real nice.
There's 30 physical pages to it. I keep going back thinking of other things like, I can look at it this way. I can flip this upside.
See, I have this feeling that it's not the kids that love data. It's Chad that loves data.
No, I do it for the kids. Chatta. Everyone knows.
The chatta. That's good. That's clever.
Hey, it's like oldie-timey radio. What's up?
I know, right? It is like...
Are you buying into this Twitter is ending, sky is falling
I am
stuff?
Not. No, I am not. Somebody without their head shoved up their butt will take over the thing, and it'll,
Well,
go
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the name brand is there. That's worth something. Somebody will pick it up.
Right. I'm just saying, I feel like there might be an interruption in service. Let's just say that. I mean, the fact that they lock the doors and nobody's allowed in the buildings anymore, and again, only half of the 4,000 employees are coming back to work, or even said they would work for Elon Musk. I don't know.
I mean, it's just one of those situations where if you let a Yahoo take over something, it just go, hey, Yahoo. But if you let a crazy person take over something, it doesn't last very long. It just doesn't. And unfortunately, Elon Musk. Do you remember? What was it, 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago? I'm 49, so time has no meaning anymore. But back then, Elon Musk came around and everybody thought he was like the golden boy. Like everybody was like, this is great. And then when that happens, when you're when you're not that he comes up with his own ideas, so I'm not going to call him a genius, but when you're like this industrial kind of person who has the dough to put into developmental of things, you could either become you either become the hero or you become the villain,
right.
He chose to become the villain, and that's because there's more money in becoming the villain, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just ask Lex Luthor.
Well, yeah, seriously, yeah.
Although Jeff Bezos is Lex Luthor, who would Elon Musk be? Who has that look in comics? Who has that look in comics?
Oh, I don't know.
I honestly like Bruce Wayne. He has all this money. He's using it to make flamethrowers and stuff.
He's launching rockets. Can he be Justin Hammer? Can we make him Justin Hammer? Or is Justin Hammer too old?
Well, that's like, that's why everybody says you're going to, is this person going to be Lex Luthor? They automatically go to Lex Luthor. They never say Ted Kord. They're never like, oh, like Ted Kord. Ted Kord is just Lex Luthor with a conscience.
I guess.
And Bezos has Luthor down.
Bezos because of the bald thing. Yeah,
right.
The whole bald thing.
Yeah, he's got drones and robots and something. Yeah, that's yeah.
Who would Bezos is like Superman be though? Who does he hate? Other than he's probably not too fond of his ex-wives. He's probably not too crazy about them. But
I don't know,
or her, or whatever.
I don't know. These real life analogies to folks in the comic book. It's tough. I'd have to think about it. And honestly, I've been drinking too much scotch to think about it at this point.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're Tony Stark.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is Demon in a Bottle. This is all
drinking too much.
I think that was the cover date was maybe in November. Was Demon in a Bottle. So I
was it really?
Yeah, I don't remember the issue. I was going to put it as a this month in comic book history, but I think I already did it like last year. So
yeah,
I'm actually trying to pay attention to ones I've done, and I thought that was an obvious one. But
I thought fourth person for a second, but I guess they didn't. But I remember I was just very disappointed in Demon in the Bottle because they never had an Earl with the helmet on. That would have been hilarious. Like he just he's flying around in his Mark IV or whatever it is, all drunk, and he just like churls right in it, and there's nowhere for it to go, so
it just goes back in his eyes.
It goes in his eyes, and he's like, Jarvis. Not the Jarvis's. Jarvis is just Alfred. He's just the Avengers Alfred.
Yeah,
but
it's in my pores.
I don't remember having tacos.
There are better Iron Man stories, actually. I think the first Iron Wars is a great story. I like that. Armor Wars, yeah. And then
there aren't a lot of stories.
Yeah, I never gave a damn about Iron until the movies came out. I was like, oh, he's kind of cool. I still don't read the comics. I still, I read Enter the Mandarin because of the artist on it. That's why I bought it. But Eric Canetti. But yeah, man.
Soon after there was a couple years right after Avengers, the Avengers movie came out. I said to myself, I need to read some characters that I have never read before. So that was about the time that I sat down and I read like 400 some issues of Avengers. And then I read a bunch. I'm still reading Incredible Hulk, which is crazy. But
you read 400 issues of the Avengers?
Yeah, because I had read up to like 50, and then like I stopped, and then I read some stuff when I was growing up, but I was just like, there's got to be good stuff in between, and there was. Like, I'm a big fan of that stuff. Chad will tell you, like it's Bronze Age, goodness or badness or however you want to say it, but I did that, and then I read some Choice Iron Man. So I read Armor Wars and Armor Wars 2. And I read Doom Quest, which is actually not bad. That's only 2 issues where Doom and Iron Man get sent back to the Middle Ages and some magic thing. And they have to team up to get back, which is kind of cool. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Iron Man. I never really got, and I never really got into Avengers stuff. Like, I never really. The thing, it's funny because the Marvel stuff, like, I'm one of those guys who's I'm like a poser. Like, I really really dig the movies. I like the Marvel movies a whole bunch. I'm super entertained by them. But I don't really read any of those titles. Like, I not on a regular basis. Like, little things here and there. like, there was a 4-issue Captain America book that Kevin McGuire did the art for at least 3 issues of. He didn't do the 4th.
Which one was
That
that?
was it was like the Adventures of Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty or something. It was like a 4-issue miniseries, and it was great. It was all World War II era. It was super good.
That
And Kevin
wasn't.
McGuire did,
That
yeah.
wasn't the one that Fabian Nicienza wrote, was it?
I can't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. But it was because I bought it for the Kevin McGuire.
Okay. There was one that Fabian Nicienza wrote, and I wasn't super thrilled with it, I guess.
I think it's Nicenza, actually.
Whatever. The guy.
Well, we don't want whatever. That's culturally insensitive.
Okay, all right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's like Doug Moench or Munch. I think it's Munch.
I think it's Munch.
I'm a monk.
Monk, or it could be Monk. See, we got to learn all these things.
We do.
Hell, we got to get past Thanos and Thanos. I mean, come on.
It's Thanos, right? It's Thanos.
It sure is. I had a friend in high school who called Magneto, and I just hated it every single moment. He and I are no longer friends because of that.
Isn't that how they say it in jolly old England? Isn't it Magneto over there?
Well, there's it's a part of an engine. Airplanes have them, or at least old airplane engines used to have magnetos. So they may pronounce it that way, but they also say aluminium. So what are they?
Yeah, they call elevators lifts. They call chip.
Kind of saying things. J.A. keeps trying to say things.
I know.
Right?
I keep on sending him things to be a talker, a listener, a talker, a co-host. He's.
Let's see if I can plug my headphones into my phone. I think I can.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you be able to do that? You don't even need a reason.
That's right. I don't need to explain anything to anybody.
I don't even need a reason. Let's just do that. But the same thing with. Let's just do it. The same thing with what's that from? We'll just do it. We'll just do the same thing except for with this. That's from a movie. Shit. Where's J.A.? He's supposed to be helping me out with that. We'll just do the same thing.
Oh, hey, it works. I got my headphones in my. Oh, look at that technology.
Here, I'll send another speak to him. He's got. Yeah, I can't do it.
Maybe.
Anyways, what else are you reading this week, Mikey?
Oh God. Well, okay. So I am, as any listeners that might be listening, I don't know if we have any. You might have noticed. I've been. I'm on this tirade with the DC crossovers, for good or for ill. I decided, months and months ago, hey, I'm going to get every single issue involved in Crisis, right? Okay. Crisis on Infinite Earth, right. And then I accomplished that. Most of them being fairly inexpensive, except for like the one, like the debut of Superboy Prime, for some reason was like $30, which is, and it's really not even that good of a story. But anyway, so I did that, and then for some reason that moved on to Millennium and Legends, the other crossovers. Like, let's get every issue that was involved in the Millennium story, and thank God there's like 3 or 4 online websites that are like reading orders, like these guys like super duper nerds doing God's work, going on there and listening. Yeah, so I follow these, and like they vary in the order a lot of times, and they sometimes vary in and if you know anything about crossovers, even with probably Marvel crossovers, a lot of times the issues, the individual like issues, don't have much to do with
right. There's 3 panels.
Yeah, like there was a 4-issue. It was really cool, actually. Though it went for during the Crisis era. There was a storyline that went from Batman to Detective, then Batman to Detective, or vice versa, whatever. And it said that it was a Crisis tie-in, but really the only reference is like, oh wow, look, the sky's red, and that's it. Just like, So, but now I'm on that with like Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis and Identity, all the crises.
That's why were there so many crises?
Well, shit happens, in the DC universe. Yeah, I don't like the So, and there's a lot, but you don't realize it until like like the Final Crisis stuff that starts in like Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers of Victory miniseries.
Okay.
That like, you know, like the seeds are planted there, and like you can and like in the Death of the New Gods and things like that, and then it like kind of runs a little bit in through. There's things like Salvation Run, which is is it called Salvation Run? Yeah, I think so. Uh, involves the villains, and like Villains United is sort of tied in there, and Days of Vengeance is sort of tied into Infinite Crisis, and you know, like they're all kind of, it's a rabbit hole, man, and that's where so any kind of like modern stuff that I've been getting, because you know I have a subscription through a comic shop, Ravenswood Comics, up in near Ithaca, New York. How are you guys? But it's where I get my comics from.
There you go.
Yeah, I get them shipped in. It's my buddy Al runs the store, so I buy them through him. I used to go through Midtown Comics, which was also really great. But yeah, so any of the new stuff I'm getting in, I'm actually not really reading. I'm just going through and getting old things.
Ah.
I have this pile of new things, but I'm also gathering up all of these little, and again, you know, for the most part, you know, buying things in lots on eBay is like super cheap. And then and if you need to get back issues, mycomicshop.com has the best back issue prices I have ever, like, nobody can beat them. Like, nobody can
Wow.
beat them. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, you'd have to check it out. You'd be probably surprised, because like it's like, you know, $2 an issue for a lot of stuff. And, like,
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, I wasn't a.
Box.
Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I was just saying, what fun is buying something online? You got
Oh, that's right. You guys like the hunting for back issues. I
That
don't
is
like that.
true.
I don't like that. I don't like digging through boxes and just facing disappointment. I like going to the website, seeing that they have it, and buying it. You know, like it's like the hunt is not like, if I like at cons, if these guys have, you know, guys have boxes upon boxes, they're like dollar back issues. I get really excited until I find out they're not in order, and then I just walk away. Because I just can't dig. I can't dig through those boxes, man. I don't have time. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm buying Twitter tomorrow. I got
it was wonderful being at Baltimore Comic Con and watching Chad in action sometimes when he was going through boxes, or
you guys.
right at the tail end of the show, he was trying to get like an OMAC number 3 was the last OMAC he needed, and the guy refused to come down. Chad just walked, and I was.
Oh, that's awesome. How much was he charging for OMAC? I just bought. Chad's gonna. Okay, so this will balance out, I guess. I was so jealous of you guys at Baltimore, because every single creator that I love was there, and I was like, sons of bitches, I can't believe they're. But the OMAC, I bought every issue of OMAC for $1 at a flea market, like 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess that's because like 8 issues of that. I've been OMAC, like I think I have every. I just don't have the John. I used to have the John Byrne, the black and white OMAC book that he did, but I don't know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. If you dollar bins, you could find it again.
Yeah. The new 52 OMAC book was really good, and it didn't last long.
Yeah, I picked that up in trade. I haven't read it yet. The Keith Giffen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith Giffen is like hit or miss with me. Sometimes his stuff is good. Other times it's like Masters of the Universe. He took his hand at rating that, and I was just like, oh, that's awful. Dan Abnett had to come in and like save that entire series after a while. But no, I think the guy was off at like charging like 35 or something, and Chad tried to get him down to 20, I think, because that's crazy. And the guy was like, no, I have to do this. And I think we were like $2 short, and Chad was like, screw this.
What's so special about OMAC number 3?
It's just back issues. Some people value them much more highly than I do.
Have you noticed that the back issue market has been bonkers? Like, just crazy. Like some of what people, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, I
went back to like, because I am a buck bin aficionado. There have been some days where I've gone and picked a book out of the buck bin, and then the very next week, $50 issue. And
yeah.
It's a bubble. There's a new bubble building.
There he is.
So you can't join and be a speaker if you're not on your phone or on the app. You can't do it like through the web. I tried to join through the web,
Oh, I
and
see.
that's what it was. Maybe that's one of those microservices that got cut.
So to Chad, what have you picked up anything good this week thus far, sir? I saw that you got those Kool-Aid Man issues. Where did you find those?
Oh yeah, just one. That was a buck bin find. No, dude, I stopped by Ides this week. Famous Pittsburgh shop. I was down in the basement, and we were just talking about screwing up people's names. I was telling him because I got a copy of Parallel Lives. And I was like, yeah, I just talked to Alex Savek this week, and he's like, you mean Savick? I'm like, son of a gun. I just, I just interviewed the guy, and I hope I pronounced his name right in the interview.
I thought he told us what his name was. I thought we asked him right before. I'm like, is it Savick? Is it Savick? And then he was
that's a quintessential interviewing skill. You always have to make sure before you're on air. How do you pronounce your name? Did I say it correctly?
He's super nice, that guy, too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But I away from it, I reverted back to my 9-year-old association because that's the one I've lived with for 30-some years.
He was very gracious with his time for sure. I know that we somebody came up and started talking baseball with him, so he was doing that for a while, which was kind of neat. It was kind of nice to hear him passionate about something else other than comics. So like he was talking about the World Series, I think the Mets or something. He's evidently a Mets fan. But yeah, that's the second time that I talked with him.
Did he have an opinion on the designated hitter in the National League?
If he did, he didn't mention it to the guy that came up and wanted to talk baseball with him. He just had, he was just talking about trades and what the Mets have to do to get better or something. I don't remember actually. It was just kind of neat to hear him talk about that. And
I don't. It's kind of glazed over. I wasn't there for baseball talk.
I don't know. He was good. I went specifically to talk with him because I had a really great conversation with him at New York Comic Con 2 years previously, and I don't know. He's kind of like you, Mikey. He's like a New York guy, and those guys have good stories. So
they never shut up. Yeah, we never.
That's putting it mildly. But
that reminds me. Speaking of New York guys, we should make Ghost of not that these guys have heard it yet, but we should make Ghost of Stan Lee a recurring segment. we should have seances and have Stan Lee's ghost come on.
Oh,
talk about comics.
Yeah. That. Speaking of which, by the way, Comics Talk After 10. If you get out to what is it? BCW Supplies?
Yes, bcwsupplies.com.
Yes, and you use the promo code LCS Pod. You can get 10% off your order plus
LCSPOD.
Yes, LCSPOD.
Yes, you can get 10% off your order plus you can show some support to the Last Comic Shop.
And what would they be ordering at BCS, Andrew?
Well, they'd be getting some long boxes. They've got bags and boards. So if you're like sitting there as you're listening to a Last Comic Shop podcast and you're like, I have to rearrange all my X-Men collection because those damn Hickman people put them all on. What do I put them in? I put them all in the X-Force? Do I get a Marauders box? Like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, or do I put them all chronologically as they're released? Any case, regardless of how you bag and board your stuff, get your bags and boards over at bcwsupplies.com and use the promo code LCSPOD.
That's right. Every one of my long boxes in my one room have the BCW logo on the side.
There you go. I know that
I can say the same thing, every one, but I just mean the number one. I have.
Yes.
But, looking to improve with that code LCS Pod.
Right. I know that I got some of my clamshells that I display some of my favorite comics on my wall in the podcast office.
I thought you were going to say clams.
Oh, I love clams. Clams Casino.
So what is so that's a fun thing. What is like do you have one issue of a comic that is like your all-time favorite and no matter like where you like you buy multiple copies of it or you like do you have one? Do you have a single issue, like a single issue of a comic? Do you have a favorite one?
Wow. Man, that's hard. I mean, I have ones that I treasure the most. Like, again, it's like my Scrooge McDuck with my number one dime is that issue of Marvel Tales that I always talk about. Like, I'm sure Chad's heard the story 1,000 times, but like,
Oh yeah,
that was the first book that I got a clamshell for, and I put on my wall. And so, like, yeah, man, like I will. But I know there are a couple. I don't think there's a particular issue, but there are certain runs that I've got now like several times in different stretches. Like the first 33 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. I have that in like 4 or 5 different ways. Like Marvel Masterworks, the Omnibus, this, that, Marvel Tales reprints, all this stuff. And the same thing goes for like the first 20 issues of the Avengers and the first like 20 issues of the Fantastic Four. I've got those in a variety of different ways. So yeah, like I don't know. I'm a Marvel guy, and the Silver Age Marvel. That's where I'm at. What about you, Chad? Do you have an issue that if you see it, you're gonna, other than stuff drawn by Rob Liefeld, I guess. But I guess it counts.
Young blood number one.
They're out there, but no, I have a much quicker, less taking shots at Rob Liefeld answer. The answer is Daredevil 281. The issue is called Heaven is Knowing Who You Are, and it has the splash page of Daredevil fighting the demons in hell, where he's like, where am I? What am I doing? I got it signed by Ann Nesenti there.
Yeah.
More comments on. It ends with the big splash with Daredevil accepting that whatever doesn't break a man makes him stronger. And then in the next issue, he proceeds to face down Mephisto himself.
Well, there you go.
But I love that.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, and I'm glad you got it signed by Ian.
Nesenti's run is like criminally underrated, I think.
Oh, I love it so much. Like,
so good, yeah.
It hit me as a kid. I'm like, there were all these ideas that were, like dipping your toe into existential philosophy and stuff like that. And I'm like, it just hit me at the right way at the right time. I love it.
Yes. Plus, Daredevil hits Ultron with a stick. And that's actually what I told Ann Nesenti when we were talking. Like, I was behind Chad and I was just like, thanks. So I was gushing for Chad. I guess maybe Chad, I don't know if I embarrassed him a little bit.
Yeah, that wasn't embarrassing.
But it set up a good joke because I was like, oh, Chad loves your run. Da, 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 da. I just love the fact that you hit Ultron with a stick. and she laughed and stuff. And so it was really nice meeting her. She was very gracious. So J.A., do you have a comic that you'd always go and pick up, or several ways, 6 ways to Sunday?
Well, I mean, it's a couple of different questions in that. I have The Dark Knight Returns in several different formats. The ultimate being the Longmeadow Press hardback, that's sort of fake leather covered combined with Batman Year One. And
the Frank
Batman.
Yeah, Frank Miller Batman, yeah.
The Christmas story's in there too. Sorry.
Yeah, the Christmas story, it's a weird, it's bookended by Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns, and then right in the middle there's the Wanted Santa Claus Dead or Alive story, which I guess it fits. I don't think it fits, but it's different. It's like a palate cleanser between the two, I guess. I would say the number, like what I would hang on my wall, or if I saw it and it was better condition, I would buy, would be Fantastic 449, first cover appearance of Silver Surfer. I have that sitting in a box somewhere in my parents' house in storage. I think it's in a closet. So I would say that. But I don't think you're rebuying that. I mean, maybe in different formats because you get it in an omnibus, or you get it in a Marvel Tales collection, or you get it in a trade, The Coming of Galactus or whatnot. But I'm not going to have multiple copies of Fantastic 449. I think that's probably one that never lost value.
Mine is the 84 Batman special. That's it. It's like I bought that on a camping trip to Vermont with my family, and I was like, this is awesome, and I just, anytime I see it, I buy it. I have like 5 or 6 of them.
Is that the one with the 2 Batman on the cover?
It's Batman and the Wraith, or the Wrath, I guess. Yeah. So it's like sort of like negative, like reverse Batman, like instead of reverse Flash. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's like the same night that Bruce Wayne's parents are killed, this kid's father is like shot trying to break into a house. Like he's like a burglar, and he's breaking into the back window of a house, and the cops shoot him. So he ends up becoming a villain, and Batman ends up becoming a hero, and their circumstances are. It just shows like how, he's one step away from being a bad guy. And there's this plot to kill Commissioner Gordon, and it's drawn by Michael Golden, and it's just awesome.
Wow. Michael
Yeah.
Golden. Yeah, he is an artist that keeps rising like almost every single year in my mind. Like Michael Golden becomes more and more of the gold standard, like of that certain era. Like, oh, his stuff is so gorgeous. And
Oh yeah, his the work that he did on the Nom in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was, and then like his G.I. Joe covers, his like
Micronauts.
Yeah, early Micronaut stuff.
right.
To circle back to J.A.'s story about Frank Miller and that Frank Miller collection, I recently had a thing with that where I'm sure you guys are the same way. When it comes to comic book stuff, I loan things out all the time. And every time I loan something to somebody, I always make sure it's something that, if I lost that, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because, you let somebody borrow something, there's a small percentage chance it's not coming back.
Right.
But years ago, I had loaned out my copy of the complete Frank Miller Batman. And I got it whenever it came out initially when I was like 9 or 10 years old, whatever it was. My grandparents, who have both since passed on, had gotten it for me for Christmas. And then in college, the one day that I missed classes in college was the day I skipped to go to Pittsburgh Comic Con to get Frank Miller to sign it.
Oh, wow.
Then, I loaned it out to a friend. It was a cousin of a friend. He's, but I don't see him on a regular basis. And then it just kind of disappeared. And it had been, a couple of weeks and a couple of months. And I'm like, hey, did I loan your cousin that comic? And he's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, crap. Meanwhile, fast forward like 4 years later, and I run into the cousin and I'm like, awkward question. Did I ever loan you a Batman Frank Miller comic? And he's like, is it kind of beat up? I was like, yeah, my dog got it at one time. But it turns out I did, and he had it. And it took me like 4 years to get it back. But I recently got it back like a month ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
cool.
You got it back.
It is back in the collection. Chewed up copy, but it has the Frank Miller autograph.
That's got provenance because it's got the dog chews on. Exactly.
Yeah, Crazy Stella chewed that one up too. But so the value of it way less. And we were at Baltimore, and Frank Miller was charging $100 graph.
Yeah. Plus, you had to I don't know, you had to get a special tickets or something. It was like, nope, we're not getting anything signed by him.
Oh,
I regret letting the dog chew that one, but at least they got it back.
That always.
Well, there you go. By the way, speaking of which, so I'm going to be very honest with you. Up until I started doing this podcast and going to cons and things like that, I didn't get a lot of stuff signed by folks that wrote it or drew it or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I've overwhelmingly got tons of prints and issues and whatever signed by folks. For you, Chad, you, Mikey, that probably have been doing that a lot longer than I have. Yeah. What do you do with that? What do you do with the stuff? Obviously you don't have enough wall space.
No, you got it. You have it. It's yours. It's I don't have any of that stuff displayed or anything like that. Those are just in. Actually, it's funny. I bought a used copy of the first Manhunter trade off of eBay for $5 or something, and it was signed by Mark Andreyko on the cover, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of nice.
Yeah,
but I don't.
That brings up a question. Then, have them in boxes, do you keep them in their run, or do you have
Yes.
like a separate box for signed stuff? So that's the signed stuff box. This is non-signed stuff runs, or do you keep it like so you're just paging through? Oh, there's OMAC #3 signed. Woo!
Yeah, I just keep it in the. Now that I use that CLZ app, I just I just make a notation that it's signed, and it's just in with the normal stuff. So I'm one of those weirdos who likes to, like, the standard is to, you have your X-Men books, and then you have your X-Men annuals. That's how people like to do that. I don't do that. I file the annuals where they fit chronologically in the storyline. So and sometimes it used to be they would make a notation. They'd say this story happens after Legion of Superheroes 215, so you know where to put it. And then sometimes you don't. You have to kind of read it and see where it fits in with the storyline. So I do that kind of thing. I also had all my Hellboy stuff in chronological order according to when the stories happened. So it's just
Wow.
Now, do you
yeah.
think you could do that with because X books were notorious for all these giant crossovers, so you'd have
Yeah.
X Factor and X Men. Would you do the entire X book series in chronological order? So
Oh my God, that would be cool. Like, okay, so this is going to sound super weird. So there was this crossover in the DC Comics called the Janus Directive, and it was a crossover between Checkmate, and this was like in like 88, 89 or something. It was like Checkmate and Suicide Squad and a couple issues of Firestorm and some random, Captain Atom stuff, things like that. It was like a wasn't a huge crossover, but it was, it was okay. It was just between. Anyway, I have the Janus Directive like 3 times over because I have it in the Checkmate box, I have it in the Firestorm box, I have it in the the Captain Atom box. Yeah. So that's I don't need them multiple. I don't know why I do, but my dream is that if I die tomorrow and somebody's like, going through my stuff and they're like, oh, hey, Captain Atom. And they're like, wow, this is like the whole storyline. That's cool. I don't know. It's just something I do.
Yeah, the only book I do that for is with Amazing Spider-Man, where like if it crossed over like Craven's Last Hunt, my Web of Spider-Man, my Spectacular Spider-Man issues, those go in the Amazing Spider-Man box. And there's just a gap there in the Web of and the Spectacular.
Right, because it's part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, but everything else, like, especially with X books, like, it gets too crazy. And, like, if you actually want to read a particular book, it's like, wait a minute, is this cross-referenced here? Like, the John Byrne Superman books, like, those are super tough. They're all over the place. Any Superman book. When they had all the different triangle covers, and it's like all 4 books are really one story, but they're not one story.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Chad, because you actually got me in the habit of, like, at least with modern books, like putting them in one bag, like 4 or 5 issues, like
It's
kind
not
of
a good
almost,
habit.
which is not, no, but like because they're runs or whatever, or they're story arcs, like you might as well put all of them in the same thing. Plus, it saves on a board because they're so thick that they're supporting each other.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I was wondering, like, I guess when did you start doing that? Like in your, I guess, your collection, because you don't do that with older books, right? Like, I mean, there's certain books are so old, like you would just put them in their individual, right? Like I don't know. It's an interesting topic for me.
I'm a monster. I will pack entire storylines into one bag.
I do that. I do that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious, like, as whether you did that with like the Amazing Spider-Mans in the 100s, that are a little bit more pricey or whatever. Like, would you put like those issues all together in the same bag, or would you keep them? Because I was trying to think of that with my ROMs. Like, I got all the ROMs, and like somebody else posted a video of their ROM collection, and they had them all individually bagged, and I was like, no. I'm at least doubling them up, where it's just like, first issue, second issue on the back, first issue, second issue on the back, except for issue 1. But like, I felt like I was being real cheap. Like, I was just like, oh,
What
yeah.
about
Evidently,
What
I didn't
about
go to
taking?
bcwsupplies.com. I didn't use the promo code LCSPOD. I didn't get 10% off, or else I would have had that problem. But I still
That's right.
think
What about taking your ROMs to Mikey's guy and getting them bound and put into an
Yeah.
omnibus?
Oh, see, I don't think I think that would be sacrilegious. I think that would be a step too far for me.
You know what's funny is if you go to that bindery's Hoshin Bindery in Utica, Michigan, I think it is. It's not Utica, New York. It's or something like that. But if you go to their website, one of the examples that they show is ROM. He did it's like a 3 hardback collection of ROM that he did for a guy, and they have connecting spines, and it's like a picture of ROM on it and stuff, and they're pretty cool.
Oh,
But
wow.
that's one of the examples. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like if I was going to do that, like I would have to have 2 collections then. Like I would have to have the hardbounds and then like the single issues.
Right.
So I'd have to get
There you
all
go.
of the
There you
70.
go. So then you got the hardbound to read, and the single issues you put in your long box to save. I recommend.
Say, that
Time to buy ROM again.
Buy ROM now. Buy
I'm
ROM.
debating. Like I just got the I found the Marvel, like the Marvel released the Star Wars, the classic Marvel run of Star Wars in omnibus form, right? So there was 3 of those, and I found the second and the third one for like $30 a piece, which is awesome. But the first one is like $300-$400 even more right now, until they go to a reprint, which I don't know if they actually do. But so I found instead the first 2 epic collections that they put out, which is what the first omnibus is, except without the Empire Strikes Back for some reason. So I'm debating sending those 2 trade paperbacks to Hoshin to bind them together into an omnibus. So I have 3 books, even though one will be a little smaller than the other ones. But I don't know.
I wouldn't. If they're not all the same size, that would be kind of weird. Like, how would that work?
I don't know. That sounds like crazy talk to me.
Right.
Well, I did that with the Ghostbusters. Like the IDW Ghostbusters, they released 3 hardbacks, and for some reason the second one is super expensive, and they're never going to reprint it because IDW doesn't have the rights anymore. So I just took the issues that comprised that and went out and got it bound, and it looks exactly, other than it being about an inch shorter, it looks the same. You know, it's got the same spine design, it's got the same everything. So
but you're always gonna know, Mikey. Every time you're gonna see that inch and be like, "Ah."
Right. That's gonna bother. That would bother me.
That doesn't bother me as much as, like, I know somebody who bought all the for some reason, I guess it's because they dissolved Vertigo, but for some reason DC, they had the Absolute Sandman books, which are beautiful, and they all had the Vertigo logo in silver on the spine. And then when they reprinted them, they all had DC logos because Vertigo was no more. So I have a friend of mine whose collection has like 1 or 2 that have a DC logo, and the rest all have Vertigo. Excuse me, and it makes him nuts. He like hates it so much, and it does kind of look at it. And Marvel has a tendency to sort of, like, for some reason, jack up one spine design out of all the other ones. Like,
Jay can talk about that. Although,
Don't get me started on spines.
JA, I was talking with a guy at Baltimore Comic Con, and I said, because I was looking for you. I was looking for Savage Sword of Conan Volume 1. And everybody, I said, do you have a Savage Sword of Conan Volume 1 omnibus? And they were like, yeah, good luck with that. And I was just like, at least I'm asking. My cousin, it's like, I guess my cousin will just have to wait for it to come out in the second printing. And most of the guys were like, well, that's not going to happen because Marvel's losing the rights to it. So it ain't going to come out. And so.
No.
Yeah, they'll probably do
Marvel's losing the rights to Conan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to somebody weird. Is it going to Dark Horse? No, it was at Dark Horse. Marvel already lost. Marvel had Conan, lost Conan, got Conan back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're screwed. You're screwed.
Well, like Marvel is releasing. Marvel's like currently releasing epic collections of the Dark Horse runs of Star Wars. So
I don't know. All I'm saying is a lot of folks at the show, they poo-pooed me. They really did. They were like, well, they're losing the rights then. I'm like, well,
I
you
know.
can go kiss a. I was just
Well,
like, I
well, then whoever gets the rights, if they're smart, will just do, because I believe, like Dynamite, for instance, Dynamite had the Shadow, and they reprinted the DC Shadow stuff.
okay.
I don't think they did huge print runs of it or anything like that, but they reprinted them in collections, and just like Marvel reprints the Dark Horse Star Wars books, and I think so I think I'm not sure if they'll be able to reprint the Marvel Conan stuff. Certainly nothing involving, although wait, they have Red Sonja, don't they? I don't know if Red Sonja is a package deal.
No, I don't think so. I
Yeah,
mean,
With
no,
Conan,
Dynamite's had Red Sonja the entire time that Conan's been at Marvel.
because
It's not a package deal at all. Honestly, I
yeah,
don't think that Red Sonja actually is wrapped up with the Robert E. Howard estate
no,
because
that she's sort of based on a pirate character that he had.
right, but like as far as I know, it was created by Roy Thomas. She was created by Roy
Right,
Thomas and Barry
Barry
Windsor
Windsor
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
But the thing is, sure, they might come out with an omnibus, if it goes to wherever, but it's going to bother JA because it's going to look nothing like the rest of his Marvel collection.
Well, what you should do, JA, is you get yourself a large format printer and just design your own slipcovers in Photoshop, and they all match. Because I've done that as well. I've made so that they can all match, and you just replace the dust covers. I mean, if you're like really particular, I don't like dust covers personally. I because they just end up tearing and stuff like that. But you just keep the Marvel ones in a folder somewhere or whatever, and you just put your own design ones so they all match and look beautiful and
Mm,
unique,
look
like
at
you,
that.
Yeah.
beautiful
Well,
and
I mean,
unique like you, JA.
the other option is to go and just buy the real issues. I think the issues of Savage Sword, the original magazine, probably is cheaper than the omnibus at this point, and get them bound.
Well,
That's how I was with the Star Wars stuff. I was like, I might as well just go ahead and buy all the individual Star Wars comics if I'm going to pay
So,
yeah,
$800.
I don't know. Like Savage Sword of Conan #1 has to be a pretty penny. Like that's got to be. What do you think, Chad? What do
why?
you?
I don't know about that, but the question I was going to ask: am I the only one here that would prefer the individual issues over a fancy highfalutin collection?
Um, I
I space wise, yes. I think that having the omnibuses from a space perspective is the right way to go. Like eventually, I hate to say it, when I get things in single issues, I tend to not read them because like they're just they get put in the long box and then I'm going to pick up the trades more often. That's just me. I'll let everybody else say their talk.
I don't. I think it depends on the thing for me. Like, there's certain books that I like so much that I want in a fancy format. There are other books that I like enjoy quite a bit, but I don't need some kind of fancy pants format for it. So I get the individual issue. I don't know, like I'm also running out of shell. Like my stuff has been, the agreement that I had with my beautiful partner Cheryl was that when we get this townhouse, I am allowed to keep my nerdy stuff in one room of the house, and it's not a huge room, and I'm running out of space. So, and I've also filtered into the garage a little bit. That's where my long boxes are. But so just for the allotment of space, I think I'm going to actually switch to digital, which really sucks because I would really prefer. But yeah, certain things like the Hellboy stuff. I love the Hellboy stuff and BPRD stuff, so I have them in omnibuses, and I'm trying to sell the individual issues. But other things, I buy floppies. They're easier to read, I'll tell you that. Omnibuses are a pain in the ass to read. You can't read it on the bus while going to work. Not that I do that anymore, but you can't.
No,
It's
I
like
agree with that. I
it's
think
like a
honestly,
14-pound book.
my favorite format now is either I still like the old Marvel Masterworks. Like I like that 10, like topping out at 10 to 12 issues per trade. I think works for me. Those are nice. But I'm a real big fan now of the Epic collections. I really do like the Epic collections because they're much easier than the omnibus, but almost the same amount of issues.
I just don't understand. I can't figure out their deal with those. Like, you guys got me fired up to read the Nocenti Daredevils again because I saw your pictures with her and I was just like, oh, I really like this. So they're either starting to put those out or they have been putting those out in Epic form. But like one of them, like you'll find one and it's like $20, and then you'll find the second one and it's like $25 used on Amazon, and then you like the third one is like $88, and then the fourth one is like $52. Like it's like I don't know if they short print them or what, but they vary wildly in price. These Epic.
Well, I think that's with every trade. I know that Chad's had recent experiences with trades that have been kind of ridiculously priced, but he needs to find them for collections. I know I have this massive problem with just getting Uncanny Avengers Volume 1 by Rick Remender with, I think, John Cassidy does the art on that. And the only reason I want it so badly is because I was able to pick up volumes 2 and 3 at Ollie's for $5 a piece. So it's just like, oh, I need volume 1. Oh, I'll go on Amazon. And I'm like, nope. No, it's like
is the trade, yes, or the
it's like the trade. It's just the trade. It's like volume 1, and
Uncanny
it's like
Avengers Volume 1, Counter Evolutionary.
No, it's called
no,
it's a different one. It's got Captain America, Thor, Rogue, Havoc. They're all standing like Scarlet Witch. They're standing like in 2 rows of like 3, and they're standing back to back. I think it's like United or something. I think that's what they call. There was a second series. They restarted it as they often do to get more number 1s, and that Counter whatever, that's the second series, and that's not the one I need. I need the first series, which again I think is like $30 or $40 for like 5 issues in a trade, and I'm just like, no.
By the way, like this. Oh, hang on a sec, Mikey. You should check Half Price Books in Monroeville.
Oh, it's there.
They had a hardback one, but it was like $15 or $17 or.
See, that's the thing. Like, I guess I got to bite the bullet and get it for $15 if that's what they got there. But I didn't want to. I mean, I got the other 2 trades for $5. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
it's like nobody cares about this.
You put all 3 together, and then you divide by 3, and then you get an average price.
I made the mistake. Like, I never have good. I've been to Ollie's once, and they had nothing, and that's because I was an idiot, and I went to Ollie's once during Steel City Con. Because what happens at Ollie's at Steel City Con is that some vendor will go in there, buy everything, take it back to the con, and jack the prices up.
Yeah,
and I made that mistake.
I keep on going back there ever since Chad found those omnibuses, and I'm still beating myself up that I didn't pick up that Amazing Spider-Man omnibus for $40 instead. But man, but that was like a gold mine. Those were great Which ones did you get, Chad? Like did you get all of them, or like
I did not get all of them.
You got a big stack, though. I mean,
I got New Warriors. I got Spider-Man 2. I don't remember if I got Spider-Man 3 then or at another time. I got an Uncanny X-Men one. I don't know. There were a couple of good ones there.
Did you get a Sensational She-Hulk, or was I the only one that snagged that?
No, I let you get that one. I picked up Earth X.
Oh, okay. There you go. I knew there was one that was like, I'm just glad that we weren't together and I had to rock, paper, scissors, because you would have beat me and then you would have taken all of them.
I give you first crack at Earth X.
It's a long story. I don't know if we ever told you, Mikey. We were at a con once. Chad and I were flipping through long boxes. This is at least the story I tell. We were flipping through long boxes. We found a copy of Crisis of Infinite Earths in trade paperback, and it was signed by both Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And it was for $5. Like, the guy didn't even know it was signed, and we rock, paper, scissors for it, and I lost. And so and the other day when we read it on the show this year, Chad was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, did you know this was signed?" And I was like, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah, I remember that. I remember I was there. I witnessed it. Yeah. Yeah, I found an Elektra Assassin that was signed by Bill Sienkiewicz in like a $5 being one.
What would you say, Chad, was your was one of the finds that comes to mind, like that you're like, that was either autographed or something other than that story? Like, do you have another story of like something you found autographed that was like super cheap and you were like, well, shoot, okay, get this.
So as a dollar bin guy, I'm always like flipping through and like I'll see like I got a Todd Knox signed issue of Youngblood. I got a Frank Miller signed issue of Lone Wolf and Cub with a certificate in the back for $1. There, like I got a John Romita Jr. signed issue of Armor Wars 2.
Wow.
And but going back to the autographs, like, and I'm somebody, I used to work at those conventions and watch people go crazy spending all this money on autographs. The autographs themselves are less important to me as just like hunting them out. It's the thrill of the hunt and getting to meet a creator, and it's like, oh, I have this prop I can hand you now, and we'll talk for a moment. But once I get the autographs, like, all right, just bag in the collection.
Yeah. I have a like I have a Swamp, the first trade of Len Wein Swamp Thing and Bernie Wrightson. I have the first trade and
signed by both of them.
No, signed by Len Wein. I never got a chance to meet Bernie Wrightson because he passed away before I did. And now that Len died, what's cool about it is like I have this trade that the story. The autograph reminds me of the story because what it was is we did this when I first put out Hate Your Friends back in like 2004 or something. It was 2004. We did this. There was a show in Cleveland, and we went there, and it was like a horror convention, really, more than anything else. So we're sitting there with our little slice of life comic book in the back room of this kind of hotel. It was one of those hotel cons where they have you split up in different rooms. So there was like we were sitting there with like Brink Stevens, the Scream Queen, and then this a couple of other people, and Len Wein and Marv Wolfman were back there. So we came in and we sat down and we're in this thing, and I'm freaking out. And at one point, one of them is like, "Hey, you guys want to play Scrabble?" And we were playing Scrabble with Len Wein and Marv Wolfman at this show because there was no foot traffic back there. And I was talking to them about Swamp Thing and about Wolverine and about, because all these characters they're in, about Teen Titans, and just for like 3 days straight talking to these incredible guys. And I drew them each. I drew him a Swamp Thing, and I drew Len a Teen Titans piece. And he gave me the trade for free, and it says "To Michael Swampily" on it by Len Wein. And it's the story behind it is kind of more, that experience was like such, they were just such good, nice. It's weird because like we look at these guys, I mean, at least I do. I fanboy out. It's like they're rock stars. It's like when you find out that like, Bono is your next door neighbor. Maybe not that huge, but like and then you kind of take a breather because they're just normal everyday people. Like a lot, I don't know. It's like actors, like if you talk to Harrison Ford about Han Solo or Indiana Jones or whatever, he's like, because it's a paycheck for them. They do their job and that's it. These things don't mean as much to the people behind them as they mean to us. They just don't. But to talk to them about the creation and how Len was like, I talked to him about, how did you feel about Man Thing? He's like, I don't care. I worked on both of them. I don't care. Yeah,
Wow.
Like he did, like he,
Well,
they didn't care.
It's weird because like I think and this is from an actor's perspective, like I could get that. Like sometimes that's a paycheck, and like maybe you're not invested in the character and you're just in the movie to make some bucks. But like I don't know. I think it would have been different because like I've worked on creative endeavors in my life, and all of the creative endeavors, I think about the people that I met during them. I think about the process that I was with. And I'm very proud of just these even rinky-dink things that I did.
Yeah.
And so like, it's kind of weird to, I guess from an actor perspective, I could see that. But like a writer or an artist, like, maybe not. Maybe an artist. I don't know, because an artist, maybe that was more of a paycheck or a gig or whatever. But like the writer that had to like craft that story and spend some time, and I don't know. Maybe I'm romanticizing it too much.
Well, we definitely romanticize it because I mean, you got to think those guys like Sal Buscema and things like that. They didn't want to be doing comics, especially the further back in time you go. The lesson, that's why, like Howard Chaykin's Hey Kids Comics is a really great, it's really hard to keep track of what characters are what though, so I'm glad that the collected editions have little kind of guides in them. But it's a really great example of as he told us, like true stories that didn't necessarily happen. You know what I mean? Because like those guys, like the guys working in comics, especially in the golden age, didn't want to be doing that. They wanted like syndication gigs in newspapers because that's where all the dough was. And as they like who was it, like Sal Buscema, I can't remember, something he hated working on something. I can't remember if it was the superhero books that he didn't like doing or if it was the Conan or whatever. But somebody,
John Buscema hated the superhero
John
books.
John Buscema, that's what it was. Yeah, John Buscema hated superhero books and just did it because that was what he was assigned, and that's why that's how they. I think that's how they used to do things back in Marvel. Like Stan would wander in there and he'd be like, "John, this is what you're doing tomorrow," and he walked away. You know, you know, and like Stan Lee's writing, like the whole Marvel style of writing that Stan Lee made sort of famous was for efficiency's sake. Like he didn't write full scripts and things like that. He just he'd write a plot and the artist would go and draw, and that's why so much dialogue in Stan Lee books happens during fight scenes, because that's what the artist wanted to draw. The artist wanted to draw big fight scenes and action and things like that, and Stan wanted to make everybody talk the whole time. So that's why, Spider-Man delivers one-liners while getting punched in the mouth. Like he can't do that. I've been punched in the mouth. You can't do midway through a one-liner. You can't do that. But yeah.
Oh, you punched me in the mouth.
Yeah. See? Like,
That's
that's
what
how
makes them superheroes, Mikey.
That's
They're
right.
superheroes.
That's true.
And that was the Marvel way of doing things. Like Stan would okay, so in this issue he's going to fight Stiltman and this has to happen, and the artist would just draw it and go back, and Stan would just fill in the dialogue as he went, which is, and I believe the book that we did, which is really the only Stan Lee book that I like, is like the Silver Surfer Parable. And I know that's blasphemy, but Silver Surfer 2-issue thing that he did, I think that was written as a full script, and you could almost tell because it's like super tight and super cohesive.
Wasn't there something in the book that actually said that like Mobius wasn't comfortable with like Stan Lee's Marvel method or whatever, and insisted on a full script or something?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was something to that effect. But I just have the epic issues, so they don't have any of that back matter in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can tell because it's very tight and it's very complete, and it doesn't have that sort of. Stan Lee's very verbose. I mean, I know that because I myself am very verbose. So
no,
it's true. It's true. Shockingly, but like Stan Lee's books are very wordy. But that's like, but so is like Marv Wolfman.
Yeah, it depends on the wordiness. I prefer Stan Lee's wordiness at times. Honestly, I still feel like he gets more crap than he should. Like there's a magic to his verboseness that I find endearing. But we're going to be wrapping up for comic book talk after 10 p.m. Here, and I'm sure that you're now listening to it on YouTube, because that's where we're going to have some of these. Hopefully this won't be the last one. Hopefully Twitter will be around. We can continue to record these as we go around, though. One last comic thought from all of us. So first, Chad, one last comic thought from you, buddy. I'll start. So one of the series that I'm reading right now is Jack Kirby's 2001 A Space Odyssey, the issues, which is a weird, it's interesting because every single one is like a two issue arc in which part of the story is in the prehistoric time, where you like learn like, oh, this is the person that discovered how to, I don't know, kill animals with a club. This is the person that first created organized religion. This is the person that invented the wheel or whatever. And then it transports to the future and has this weird like future thing where somebody in the 2001 spacesuits, which are kind of awesome, I won't lie, but they end up dying, get sucked up by the monolith, age 1,000 bajillion years in like 2 seconds, and then become a star child. Like the same thing that happens at the end of 2001. And he does this for like the first 7 issues of the series. And then issue 8, 9, and 10 are just Machine Man, and he's just like, screw it, I'm just going to do Machine Man from now on, and it's a springboard into the Machine Man series. But I think everybody should take because I think it's actually pretty good. The writing is pretty gosh darn good. For sometimes I don't like Jack Kirby writing because I think he's a good plotter, but sometimes he's just not. There's something off about his dialogue, but this is pretty good.
His books are bonkers. When he's let off when they let him off the rails, like they're nuts, and I love them.
Yeah, so I might have people read this series for a last comic shop this year. I don't know.
Cool.
All right, now to Chad. Now that I greased the wheels, Chad, you got one last thought for us?
So my thing this week was only tangentially related to comics. I spent way too much money on trading cards.
Ooh.
So the Spider-Man, it's the Skybox Metal series, and like packs of cards now are ridiculously expensive. But I got a couple of little like booster boxes for like $40 a piece on sale, and just the card market is so incredibly weird. But I'm standing here now, and I'm in my basement. I'm putting some little cards into little tiny plastic sleeves. I'm trying not to mess them up. But the metal cards, super neat looking. Like, they have some that have a gold sheen on them and some that have a silver sheen. And there are all these different, like, rules to them now. But they look awesome, but are in no way worth what they cost. That's my comic thought for today.
All right, that's fine.
The cards,
there you go. Well, I learned that lesson with Upper Deck in the 90s. All right, J.A., your comic thought to wrap us up.
Yeah, so I just bought Saga Volume 10, which is out. Came out in October. It's the first trade of the ongoing Saga series. I think it takes, I don't know, how long are these trades? Like 5 issues, maybe 10 issues?
I think they're 5 issues, about that. 4 or 5, but I think they're 5.
55 through 60.
Yep.
It collects. So I am looking forward to getting back into Saga. This is the series that ran for 54 issues, and then took like a year and a half hiatus, or 2 years. So they're starting up, and it's going to run up until, I guess, how many issues? I guess, 54, right? So another 54 issues.
Yeah.
Before they're all said and done, and then it'll be done.
Right. So that would be how many trades? That would be what, 18? Yeah, 18 volumes.
Trades. Yeah, 18 trades. Or my preferred collection is the first. You can get the first 3 in an omnibus, but it's really big, and the quality I don't think is as nice, and the pages are smaller. Or you can get the first 9 trades are connected into 3 hardcovers, which is I think the way to go. The pages are bigger. Book 1, 2, and 3, and
right,
you get some nice art and interviews and stuff in the back end too.
I think that's what didn't we read book one like the first 18 issues or something? Was that what we did for the show? Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. You'll have to tell me how it is, because I have to start over again at Saga issue 1, because again I keep on getting like four volumes in, and then it falls off my radar, and then I'm like, I forget everything. I got to start all over again. So maybe I'll just Jonathan Hickman and wait for it to all be done. All right, Mikey, wrap us up, close us out here.
Well, my thing was, just recently, this has been a really rough year for comic book creators passing away. So like so Kevin O'Neill passed was it last week, I guess. So I started reading through the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen again, the book he did with Alan Moore, and I still have no idea what the Black Dossier is about, and I just think I'm not smart enough for it. I just think that's basically what it is. But man, that's a good series. So if you guys ever haven't read it, you should, because it's great.
Yes.
And that's what I got.
Yeah. It was sad when Kevin O'Neill died and passed away. It was
very unique vision in comics. Like his
right.
style was just, he made like stuff that was so grotesque and so horrific, and it was so beautiful. Like just his balance of style. And apparently, I never had a chance to meet him myself, but apparently he was incredibly kind, which is really funny because you look at some of the bonkers stuff that these people draw, and to find out that they're not a crazy person.
Well, I think I might have to. There's one series that he did that I haven't read yet, and that's any of the martial law.
Oh my, that's good.
The thing is, though, growing up, like I always thought it was just like a knockoff Judge Dredd. So I was like, this just looks like Judge Dredd, except it's martial law. And so I was just like, maybe I won't do it. But now maybe I'll check it out. I don't know.
Martial law was ahead of its time. Martial law was like The Boys before The Boys was The Boys. Like like martial law, his job is to put down superheroes. Like that's what he does, because the superheroes get they use there's nobody's good. Like all superheroes are assholes, and he's there.
Oh, okay. So it is like so it has absolutely nothing to do with like dystopian futures at all.
Oh, it's a dystopian future, yeah, but so it's basically Judge Dredd if Judge Dredd hunted superheroes instead of just regular perps,
okay.
just regular perps. Yeah. Yeah. I am the law. Yeah. So
all right.
There you go. People tuning in right now are like, what the hell is this? Yeah. So all right, guys. Thanks for having me as usual.
Right. And make sure that you're checking out the Last Comic Shop over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. It's our terrific website where you can find all these episodes, a lot of them featuring Mikey Wood, who's our great friend in the comic books, whatever. Zeitgeist.
So just avoid those. Just avoid those.
No, listen to those ones. They're great. By the way, not to tease our ratings that are coming up later in our year-end wrap-up, Mikey Wood was on the second top downloaded show of 2022.
Oh, which one is that? Which one is it?
You're gonna have to listen to the show, Mikey.
You're gonna have to wait and see.
That's right. But you were number 2, not number 1. Number 1 is very interesting. I never would have picked that in 1,000 years. Number 2 makes sense.
Is number one the one where you guys were all naked? Is that the one? That makes sense.
I wish. Any case, also make sure that you're going out to bcwsupplies.com. Make sure that you're putting in promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off all of your bags, your boards, your long boxes, your clam cases, whatever you need for your comic book collection. And by putting in promo code LCSPOD, you're going to be also helping out the Last Comic Shop. So you get a little bit of a bonus. You get to feel good about yourself as well as saving money. So yeah.
And BCW has those super cool comic bags that have the adhesive on it, so you don't have to use tape. They're wonderful.
That's gorgeous.
They're wonderful.
Those are nice. Any case, again, lastcomicshoppodcast.com. Check us out this week. We've got our 101st show coming up next Tuesday with Mikey Wood talking about Twilight. Yeah, by Jose Garcia Lopez and Howard Chaykin. So there you go.
Who has refused to adopt me as his son, so I'm a little bummed by that. But I'm working on it. All right.
All right. We'll take it easy. We'll see everybody later.